Do you agree that God the Son was still God, even though he was not everywhere?
There's a possibility that in the Gospel of John, the assertion is made that he did maintain omnipresence. I think you're probably aware of that. Even if that was one of those attributes that was veiled. Though I think there's a strong argument to be made for that textual variant and the possibility that he maintained that, and that it was his consciousness that is specifically centered in the person of Jesus Christ, but that omnipresence itself was not veiled.
Dr. White, he wasn't sharing glory with the Father as before, as you have said, because he wasn't seated at the right hand of the Father when he was on earth. He said he would return to that place. The angel The angel said he's not here, he's risen. He wasn't in Abraham's bosom. He wasn't in the lake of fire. So when Jesus was here on earth as God the Son here on earth, isn't it true that he was still God, even though he wasn't in the lake of fire, he was not seated at the right hand of the Father? Wasn't he still God?
As the God-man, he was definitely spatially, temporally located, because to be a human being is to be spatially.
Was God the Son in the lake of fire? Was God the Son seated at the right hand of the Father when Jesus was here?
And I think there's a misunderstanding of your understanding of omnipresence as well at that particular.
That's a different topic. The question is,
you're asking me whether he was
in hell or not. The question is specific. Was God the Son seated? Was God the Son seated at the right hand of the Father when Jesus was on earth?
If he maintained his attribute of omnipresence, then the Son would be properly ascribed as to being present in all of creation. If that was veiled and there was a focus upon Jesus as the God-man, then you could make that statement.
So you asserted earlier that even though God the Son had one nature for eternity past and now has two natures for eternity future, still he has not changed essentially.
That's correct.
I got that right?
Yep.
Do you agree that God the Son was still God, even though he did not possess all the glory and power that he had before the incarnation?
Philippians chapter 2, he laid these things aside, made himself of no reputation, so as to become obedient to die on the cross as a sacrifice for God's people.
So if someone looks at the scriptures and says that Jesus said the Son did not have that knowledge of the second coming, would you assert that they're not a Christian because they think Jesus was speaking literally and that to be God, you don't have to have all knowledge?
Well, there's a false assumption there. You earlier said that God does not have omniscience because of what Jesus said. The Father knew and the Spirit knew, so God still knew even though there was a veiling for the Son for a specific purpose and a specific time. So that is an improper assertion that you're making because God hadn't forgotten. God still knew. God was still omniscient. And the attributes of God are of the triune God.
Dr. White, you believe, of course, the Bible's teaching that God has foreknowledge and he predestines. Is that true?
I certainly do.